Hello. Hello. Sir. Okay sir. இல்ல நான் பேசுறது கேக்குதா உங்களுக்கு? இது Zoomல sir. கேக்குதா? எனக்கு ஒண்ணும் ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் இல்ல சார். ஓகே சார். அந்த பையன் வந்துட்டாப்டி சார். ஆமாங்க சார். ஓகே சார்.
చెక్కు వచ్చాడండి చెక్కు వచ్చాడండి చెక్కు చెక్కు
Am I audible now? Hello.
Yes, audible, Balaji. Hello, good morning, everyone. I would like to invite you all to the webinar on Kickstart to Amazon Web Services Cloud, conducted by our IT department from PSNA College of Engineering and Technology, Dindigul. I would like to welcome our HOD, Dr. A. Vincent Anthony Kumar, to this webinar. I would like to invite all my beloved faculty members to this webinar. I would like to invite all the various participants from the colleges to this webinar. I hope it would be a very useful session to all. Now I request Dr. Paval Rajan sir, Professor IT Department, to play the teaser of our college IT department. Paval Rajan sir. Paval Rajan sir. I am very glad to introduce our speaker, Mr. Balaji. He is an alumni of our department, Information Technology, 2011-2015 batch. He started his career as a application developer, as a .NET developer at Cognizant in the year 2015. He also developed projects in the area of Azure Cloud, native app development, Angular. He is working as application developer in scientific games company. Without any further delay, now I ask Mr. Balaji to take over the session. Dear participants, if you have any queries, please put up in the chat box. So Balaji,
Thank you, ma'am.
okay.
Hi, students and beloved staffs of IT Department PS and ACET. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I would like to appreciate the staffs and the management of PS and ACET about this pandemic. While COVID-19 is affecting the worldwide, all colleges are trying to have an online class session to complete their syllabus, whereas PS and ACET and the IT Department collaboration has made an extra effort to bring this webinar daily 1 or 2 webinars to bring what is happening around this software industry and the latest technologies as a blueprint to the students. So today we are going to see a kickstart to the AWS. Actually, if you see, AWS is a vast topic, so I have planned to cover the basics and an introduction of AWS. So let's start this session. Language, what is cloud computing, futures and services of AWS, and few placement tips, key guidance to step into the software industry. So, what do you think about a programming language? A language, just take an example of a language which is used to communicate between human to human. So when you try to, pass a message to your, buddy or co-human, you will use a language which is commonly known to you both. For example, English or Tamil. So the same way, when you try to communicate to a system or computer which accepts binary language, there is a lot of languages. Learn the basics of a programming language, and you will get to be expertise over a language, and you will get the whole control of computer. So computers are basically designed to help the human activities, like minimize the manual effort also. So as like a language, a communication between human and a computer is a programming language. So to expertise over any programming language, I would suggest you to practice more, understand the basics and core values of the language better, and try to practically implement it so that you will get more mistakes. The mistakes is where you will learn from it. So before starting AWS, I would like to define what is cloud computing. So you would have known, what is cloud computing. So I would have taken an, day-to-day life example to define what is cloud computing. You know, power, electricity is all over the world. It is like a major grid-based system which is inside the ground, and they are just transmitting your using towers and Excuse me, sorry. Sorry for interrupting. So similar to the power electricity, which is maintained by a grid, transformers, towers over the globe, over the geographical area, cloud computing is similarly what you are going to use, but that is not physically visible. It is like an virtual enterprise application. It is like, so how you have measured your power at your home. You will have a meter, you will have sockets, you will have 24/7 power electricity, but you will plug it into the sockets and you will charge your devices. You will use switch on light, fan, TV, something. So that the meter will be there. It will be calculating what is the power you are using, and you will just pay for it. Similarly, you will use the services of cloud computing. What is the service account you have used? They will have their own unit of measures like so cloud computing is basically a service giving you access to technology resources managed by experts and available on demand. Similar to electricity, on demand you can use cloud services and you can pay for it. You can simply access the service over the internet with no upfront cost, and you can pay only for the resources you use. So attributes of cloud computing would be you will not have any capital expenditure, pay as you go and pay only for what you use. So it will not be like a postpaid connection. It will not be like a prepaid connection. It will be like a postpaid connection. You have the major elastic capacity, like you can scale up and down whenever you need. And like you are developing a product and you need it to be brought it to the market immediately. So time to market is better than cloud compute, other than any of the other technologies. So you get to focus your engineering resources on what differentiates you versus managing the undifferentiated infrastructure resources. So if you see like traditional modules, they will have 50% of development resource and 50% of engineering resources to be placed on what type of infrastructure they're going to develop, what type of infrastructure they're going to deploy their applications. When you choose this cloud computing, the time taken to build it, they will be reduced. So what I told is, so on-premise infrastructure. On-premise in the sense going forward, on-premise is whatever you use inside an institution, organization, or an enterprise. So on-premise is within yourself. So in on-premise infrastructure, which is a traditional way of infrastructure, can concentrate only 30% on your business and 70% will be on managing all the infrastructures, which will be like you'll get more time to focus on business. Like it will be like flip this equation. You will be getting an inward selection. Like 70% you can focus on your business and 30% is what you will configure your cloud assets. So you'll gain more amount of time when you go for this time. So there are a lot of cloud computing modules, but AWS uses the major three of the cloud computing modules. One is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Software as a service is nothing but since you have got a smartphone or an internet connection, you would have used an mail service. It might be Gmail, Yahoo, Rediff, Outlook, Microsoft, whatever it is. The email service, email application, whatever you use is a software as a computing application. That is the basic example and day-to-day example to relate with. You can just consume that service. That is what says. So platform as a service, you see, you can like rent or lend a platform to develop an application development decision based on the support provided from the platform service applications. You can stream, you can host your web application, you can build on it. That is what platform as a service makes for. You could see like online image editing software readily available. You will just directly go, you will just edit your software. And there are a lot of cloud computing, virtual PC, VMwares, where this IaaS provides a vital role, where you will move your on-premise environment, production environment, by creating a similar environment in the cloud, and you will just move that complete environment to be working from on premises to the cloud. So these are the cloud service models, classified based on the users they use. Software as a service is used by any end user, like Gmail. Gmail is used by any end user today, right? That is what software as a service means. So PaaS is used by mainly software developers who would like to develop their applications in a cloud computing, so that makes them easy to deploy it in the cloud. The next one is the infrastructure as a service. So network architects and IT administrators would be using this. AWS is the major key role platform playing in IaaS today. As we see, Amazon Web Services offers a suite of cloud computing services. It contains various services which are related to different areas like infrastructure, database, application networking, etc. It offers service in all the major categories we have mentioned, but it's offerings. So EC2, we'll see this briefly a little bit later. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Computing, which is nothing but a virtual private computer provided to you to launch your application or to operate any of your business needs in the cloud. S3, Simple Service Storage. EBS, Elastic Block Store. This is nothing but an S3 is nothing but similar to Google Drive. EBS is nothing but a local hard disk drive which is placed in a cloud network. So coming to PaaS, like platform as a service, there is Elastic Beanstalk, which is widely used by many of the business networks around across the world. So Elastic Beanstalk is a platform where you can just deploy your application. You will not do any configuration or setting up the infrastructure. You will just deploy the application directly. For example, if you are a Java developer, your deployment would be based on a jar file or a var file. You will just take an output of your project as a jar or var module. You just directly upload that file to the Elastic Beanstalk, where it itself will deploy and it will host your application. So coming to the SAS, software as a service, it offers Elastic Transcoder, Amazon Cloud Search. Cloud Search is nothing but you will do Google, right? Googling. So day to day, you'll do Googling, right? So based on the search results, they have a lot of data servers where they process this search. So cloud search is similar to that. So you do search for products on Amazon, right? So based on the product, you get that. If you search a product on Amazon, you will go to your Facebook page. You can see that related advertisements, right? So these are all stimulated and analyzed based on this cloud search. SQS, SNS are like queue systems, simple queue systems, simple notification services. Amazon is providing you SMS services, email services based on this SQS and SNS. DBAS, few would be new to this database as a service. Even though you have Azure Cloud Database, Google is also working on a database to be provided as a cloud database. So we have this RDS and Redshift. RDS is nothing but relational database service. This RDS is developed in AWS with a native. So like your current business would be running on Azure, Microsoft SQL Server, or a local MongoDB server or something. So whatever server you use, you can just migrate directly to using this RDS. The major RDS services provided by AWS is one is Redshift, the other one is Aurora. Aurora is enriching a lot of businesses to move into the cloud database system. The final is infrastructure as a service, cloud formation. How you deploy any application, host it, migrate it in a cloud is what infrastructure as a code. This is a latest and emerging technology in the cloud computing module. So AWS cloud. I'll give you briefly what it was earlier and what is it is now. So on-premises, we have told it, right? On-premises. On-premises is anything you operate within an institution, within an organization, or within your enterprises. So you will maintain your own server, you will maintain your own storage, you will maintain your own database and applications. There will be a corporate networking team who will monitor and manage these applications. So whereas if you move to AWS, everything will be in an internet. You will not know whether it is placed in it will be definitely placed in a geographical location, but you will not know about it. All the servers, storage, database, application, everything will be admitted in the internet, and it will be like a cloud service provider. So you would know widely about internet service provider, right? How internet is provided to all the end users. Similarly, cloud service provider is what AWS is working on to provide services over the internet. So actually, how does it work? So AWS owns and maintains the network connected hardware, like a lot of hardware connected over the lot of network hardware connected over the different regions around the globe has been interfaced to uh, bring down into a single interface where you will provision and you can define what you need. So you'll have this AWS management console, which we will see going forward. It can control a storage, a database, business applications. You can compute over it. You can deliver your content and network over it, and you can manage IoT over it. So this is what deployment models transition from the traditional model to the cloud model. So on premises, you will have your hardware, you will have your client, you will have your backend, which will be deployed inside the on premises. You will have a downtime. You will have a downtime to configure your system to adapt to your latest upgradations of everything. So you will take care of everything inside the premises. When you go to hybrid, you will have both cloud and traditional data center combined to bring your application to be viewed. So for example, you will have your database services hosted in the cloud and your client and the backend services hosted in the traditional data center, where it will bring your complete application. Whereas in AWS, you can have your database, you can have your front end, you can have your backend, both everything to be integrated in the cloud, and your application is ready to be hosted without any downtime or something, so that your business don't get impacted. Guys, am I going too fast? Ma'am?
No, Balaji.
Okay, ma'am. So we'll go to see like benefits of AWS cloud. So you see, like AWS got emerged in 2002 and 2003, and today 2020, after some 18-19 years, they are the biggest investors, profit earners in the IT infrastructure and enterprise. So we'll see what made them to achieve this. Like usually in the early 90s and 20s, there will be like traditional data centers where you will go, you will just sit for a quotation, like you will let them know you need for example, you need 100 GB of hard disk, you need like 16 GB of RAM, you need like Intel high speed processor, and there will be a quotation emerged based on your requirement. That requirement, that a quotation will be involving or revolving around your enterprise to be approved by some senior most or the business management. And this data center quotation will be like, if it is like 100 GB and this thing, they will give you an individual server where you can host only your application. So because of this, you will have more amount to be paid. Like data center investment will be like high. So based on a forecast, like you will have a forecast based on the usage and the number of customers you have, you will be keep on incrementing or upgrading your systems and infrastructures time being. So when you compare this with AWS, you will be like getting the infrastructure within a minute, and you will pay only for the amount you consume. For example, you have in a traditional data center, you will get for 100 GB and 16 GB of RAM, but you can scale up and down in the AWS. Like for a day you can have 25 GB, and for a day you can have 50 GB and 75 GB. It will be like a prorated basis. Like for 1 week you will pay for only 25 GB, and the other week you will pay for 50 GB, where in a traditional database you will pay for 100 GB a month. There won't be any reduction in the price what you pay for it. So massive economies of scale. So if you take up any business or any environment today, like based on the customers increase, they'll get their profit more. But coming to AWS, they're scaling the economy of their customers. Like consider, so when AWS started, they just had this AWS built only for the Amazon e-commerce site. So AWS is initially built for the usage of the well-known Amazon.com e-commerce site. Then they have decided, so what we have what we have built today might be useful for developers and application infrastructure architects around the world. So they decided to provide their own infrastructure as a service. So when they initially launched it, it was admired by few of the business enterprises, but today there are like thousands of business users who are migrating to AWS. So their business grows, they get more customers, they get their profit in hundreds and thousand times. So they are reducing their costs. You won't believe, since AWS has been launched, 72 times and 37% of profit they have reduced and shared with their customers to scale their business economies. So if you choose AWS rather than Microsoft Azure or GCP platforms, uh, AWS provide you the greater savings, which you can measure in an aggregate value. So that is why a lot of companies migrate to AWS. Okay. uh, Coming to this similar point, so I told you, right, you will get a 100 GB and 16 GB RAM in a traditional data center, whereas your application may take 1 GB or 2 GB of space, for which you have hired a 100 GB server. So out of 2 GB you're using, you're paying extra for the 98 GB space, which is a overestimated server capacity. So might be if you reduce the server capacity to 10 GB or 15 GB, you might underestimate your server capacity, where your server could drop off or go down. So to overcome this situation, you can define your capacity of storage, CPU, RAM value, or anything which is required for the scaling of the infrastructure. And the speed and agility in AWS is not there in any of the other cloud providers. Whereas you will take weeks between wanting resource and having resource. You will be like having a set of discussion related to your requirements and the pricing given by the cloud computing companies. It will take at least a week for you to set up your infrastructure. Wherein in AWS, you can launch your infrastructure with your own prediction. There won't be any interruption. You can define your own infrastructure and you can just launch your cloud application in minutes between wanting resources and having resources. You won't have any management team or corporate IT architecture team to manage, maintain, or do your cloud computing activities. I don't want to spend more money on running and maintaining data centers. If you go for a traditional data center, you'll be like periodically paying them maintenance cost and upgradation costs for, or like a rent. For example, consider you have a grocery supermarket, you have multiple branches where you don't have a lot of what to say, warehouse to stock your goods for those multiple supermarkets. So you will hire a godown, where you will godown or warehouse. You will hire a warehouse where you will have the stocks filled in there. Whether you have stocks filled in the godown or not, you will pay rent. You will pay maintenance for those warehouse. Similarly, you will pay the running and maintaining costs for the traditional data centers. Wherein, if you move on to this AWS, you won't have to pay more money on running and maintaining this data centers in a traditional way. So this will help you concentrate more on your business and customers and saving time. And global in minutes is what the high stability benefit of AWS cloud. You know what, if you go for any cloud computing, they will be operating based on certain locations, even though they have a branch. But AWS is what, related to their term cloud, they're really operating in global environment. They have multiple regions, multiple data centers, multiple availability zones, which we'll see later. So because of this, there is redundancy service without any manual thing. So whenever you do to hire for a cloud computing server, uh, it will automatically create a redundancy server in a far located availability zone, so that even if some natural disaster or power shortage or something happens, your data won't lose, your business won't go down. So immediately your service will be hosted from the other availability zone. The mainly security provided by AWS, your data would be safe. They have multi-factor authentication. They have security groups to protect multiple layers to protect your data. So your data is really stored in a geographical data center location, which will be like a virtual cloud location for you. That data center has been given with a military level and 3 level security for those data centers, and you can have your compliance requirements within the time you need to deliver your business to the service. You can save more money, you can scale quickly, you can upgrade or downgrade your infrastructure as soon as possible and whenever you need. There is no restriction of scaling up and down, like maybe if you go for some cloud computing, traditional cloud computing today, as AWS is computing them, they'll give you features like twice a month or bi-monthly, quarterly. You can scale up, like you can reduce or upgrade your RAM, CPU and storage facilities. But AWS doesn't have such things. You will own your own infrastructure, you can scale whenever you need. So these are the services and features provided by AWS. Analytics. So analytics is what, like data analytics. So based on this, so you will see, you will search for a product in the Amazon.com e-commerce website. Within minutes, you will see that advertisement popping up in all the websites or social media wherever you use. This is driven based on this analytics. So application integration. So you when you go for a bigger enterprise like software companies, they will have client like front end, back end, data layer, and comprehend back end service layer. So these layers would be integrated easily using AWS. AR, sorry, AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality is one. The main and the latest emerging technology where AWS has invested a lot for future investment. So virtual reality, you would have known, like virtually you will be present inside any of the games, any of a 3D movies. So you'll have a device for virtual reality. Whereas augmented reality, you don't want to have any device, just a website or web browser or your mobile phone camera. So Google have their 3D animals, right? 3D animals, through you can view animals in your home through your camera. It will not be present virtually, but it will be present augmented, whereas you can see virtual real life objects in a smartphone. So that is where they have invested more for future developments. So you have a cost management providing application service provided by the AWS, where you can go through your previous month's billings and you can see where you are spending more. If you would like to transition your services like offered by AWS, you can do by this AWS cost management. Blockchain is nothing but continuous integration and continuous deployment done by any software industry which is releasing versions based on versions again. So this blockchain will take care of version controlling. So business applications. So any business applications, they're giving a service called business applications. You will just hand over the application to them. They will sign a contract with you for taking care of your business, whereas you will see the advertisement, management, and taking care of the marketing of your business, whereas they will have their internet based hosting of your business. Compute is nothing but a computer. So providing they are providing you virtual private computer, which is nothing but called as VPC. Elastic cloud computing, you will have a Linux, Unix, Windows based, Mac OS based computers. Customer engagement, they have best in class customer enterprise, like CRM relationship model. So they are providing end to end follow up service which is not provided by any of the business enterprises, not only cloud computing, any of the business. You will not see a customer engagement similar to AWS customer engagement database. They have relational database, MongoDB, DynamoDB, Aurora, uh, Redshift, the advanced databases, whatever is used in this industry, they have migrating services offered for databases, so that you'll be easily migrating your current on-premises network to a cloud network. Developer tools. You can even code on AWS. You can like code any language on AWS. There is a platform for AWS development. Not a platform. They have multiple services provided for developing applications on the AWS. End user computing, like end user computing is mainly like you can compute, you can manage your AWS services both uh, based on a computer web or an mobile application. You'll not believe, you can control your cloud computing services in your mobile, in your hand. We'll see on it later. So game technologies, they're also concentrating on game technologies like casinos, like internet gaming, like website games. A lot of game technologies is also their content, and they have a separate career opened for AWS for upcoming freshers who they are willing to hire. They're like planning to train them, and they're making them as an asset to their game technology service categories. IoT. So IoT is you would have known IoT 5 years 7 years back. So IoT was first utilized more by AWS is what I'll say. So coming to e-commerce side, you would have known about Amazon Pantry, right? So Amazon Pantry is what you can subscribe for your monthly groceries or like household things. For example, I'll take so you use your detergent, right? Clothing detergent. So you'll not know when it is going to get over, right? So once you notice that it is going to get over, you will have a small device like MFA tag or CFA tag. They'll use some it will be connected to your Wi-Fi. You'll just have a button. You'll just press that button. That will automatically place an order in the Amazon.com and deliver the detergent backup for you. So AWS is the core IoT, vast small applications in the sense hardware applications implemented with the IoT technology, and they're emerging more on it. Based out of comparing US and India, US have a lot of IoT related to their e-commerce Amazon.com site. You can Google it over. Machine learning, AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning is given a wider support in AWS. Without machine learning and AI, they would not have achieved this much of height in the cloud computing. They have machine learning and AI implemented in all of their services to enrich the business with their customers. Management and governance. So, if as I said earlier, you'll need to concentrate 70% of your business and just need to configure your cloud infrastructure with the 30% of proportion, whereas this management and governance of your application is taken care by the AWS generals. Media services. You would have familiarly known what is Amazon Prime, right? Hosting any media like web, any video or images. They have Amazon Music as well. So any kind of Amazon Cloud is there for you to upload your photos and stream photos. So any type of video, and Amazon S3 is one of the storage services similar to Google Drive, where you can store your documents. So basically, media is like photo, images, documents, are like videos, right? So this is the media services vastly enriched by a lot of customers across the world. So migration transfer. So as I have told you, a lot of businesses were there and on-premises technology like years ago, where they have emerged into cloud, basing this migration and transfer facilities. You know what? Amazon had a Snowball and Snowmobile introduced in 2014. What the Snowball and Snowmobile stands is like Snowball is what? You will bring your on-premise hardware to their data center to migrate your data, like tens and hundred petabytes of data from your hardware to their data center. Like you'll manually bring in your hardware to their data center. You'll be allowed to bring your hardware to their data center. You'll migrate your data to their cloud. Whereas this Snow Mobile is what? They will bring you a data center to your business location to get the data transferred to their data center. Mobile. So AWS is a technology where you can uh, uh, develop, deploy, and host on the go, even your mobile. Mobile computing, cloud computing brought into your mobile is what mobile computing. So networking and content delivery. So for this content delivery, any kind of static content can be delivered through AWS content delivery services. One of the major services is the AWS Cloud Front, where you can easily host any of your static website, static images, or like static video contents to be streamed over at any particular time or particular event. Robotics. So this is also the major evaluating technology which is AWS relying upon. Satellite. Coming to satellite, AWS is supporting NASA's uh, rover rover kind of AWS is supporting NASA's rover and satellite based technology. They're like helping them to receive, analyze, and compute the data received from their satellites and transmitter receivers. Owing to the security and identity compliance, AWS has a major identity access management called IAM user profiling, where like access profile, like authorization and authentication for any users would be provided in a vital and custom generated compliance module. You can define what user can have, what type of user, what type of role access, and what type of security groups access to that particular user. Storage. So storage owes to both database storage as well as simple storage, like cloud storage. So you can store your files compared to Google Drive. So Google Drive allows you a maximum file size for a single file as 1 GB, whereas Amazon gives you 5 GB as a maximum storage for a single file to store. You have particular API services provided for the storage, whereas you can use a simple service to upload or download or process that data loaded in the S3. Similarly, you can use that API to be streaming that particular stored file in any of your business applications. So these are the major service categories provided by AWS. So the history and evolution of AWS would be like AWS was documented and sit to talk on a roundtable conference within Amazon. Like in late 90s, they have done with their Amazon, what do you say? They started with their library, right? Book library. So later they have sit to decide and design a documentation for their own infrastructure, their own like what technical infrastructure. They designed a documentation, how it will be working, what it will be of. Like it was like how their services would be reaching to the end customers, how it would be like impacting, giving profits to their business. It all started with the EC2, Elastic Cloud Computing. So 2003, they started with the cloud computing. So 2004, they launched SQS, Simple Queue Service, which will be like which will be able to process a lot of queue. So you place orders, right? You place Amazon orders. All the orders would be sent to a queue system. Queue is similar to a DSA, data structure algorithm component. So your orders will be processed, stored in a database, whereas they will be processed in a queue. They'll verify your order. They'll process your order. It will be like taking care within a fraction of second based on this cloud computing EC2. 2006 is where officially they launched this Amazon Web Services, even though it has started its evaluation in 2002 uh, and laterly published in 2003. 2006 is where they have launched officially. By then, following to 2010, they had 180,000 developers signed for AWS to work for AWS. By the time they have launched like 1,000 plus services by the time, as they launched on 2006, by 2010, they have launched like 1,000 plus services. Within 2 years of AWS officially launched on 2006, 2008 is where they had their real competitors emerging in the market. So major competitors for AWS is Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform. They too brought into the competition for cloud computing uh, in the race with AWS. So in 2010, so Amazon.com, their own services moved completely to AWS. Wherein they need to market it, right? They need to market their services to the other businesses, right? So they made themselves moving on to India. They moved their complete Amazon.in application to the AWS. In 2011, they had this elastic block store in EBS book. They had a greater problem where they had, as the business grow, they started facing problems in the elastic block store. There is some elasticity in their cloud computing started to bring on issues in their cloud computing applications. They started working on it. They identified the bugs. They have fixed it. Like it won't happen anymore in in a century or so. They have re-infrastructured their complete cloud architecture so that it gets more elasticity for themselves as well as their customers. This reinvent conference occurred in 2012 for the very first time in Los Angeles. So AWS reinvent is nothing but you could have seen videos, right? From the Apple founder, introducing Apple iPad or iPhone or MacBook Pro. Similarly, they followed the pattern. They organized a conference called AWS reinvent in Los Angeles. They were like introducing, explaining briefly about their services, like to attract customers. They're able to answer their customers like based on the services provided, service offered, and what have they achieved till today, what have they brought to this market. This happened in 2012 for the first time. uh, After 2012, year on year, in every December they are organizing a conference internationally. So in 2013, they have launched the AWS certification for individual developers. So you can get certified as a AWS developer, and you can develop your own applications in the AWS cloud. 2014, they had an 100% committed team located all across the world to achieve 100% renewable energy, like processing, maintaining, servicing their own data centers. And it will be like an timely what to say, it will be like a timely maintenance activity performed inside any data center. So by 2015, Amazon Web Services was able to roll out a revenue $6 billion USD per annum. This was not in their chart when they initially took this stock around 2002, because they initially invented this for their own purpose. Why can't we serve this for developers and architects across the world to make it use for them? But finally, in 2015, when they land, they were in a profit of $6 billion, with $13 billion USD per annum in the 2016. Yeah? Whereas in 2017, they hosted an artificial intelligence services where they could also participate in the AI and machine learning technology, which the globe is emerging towards. So machine learning specialty certificates were launched in 2018. And moving on, in 2019, within no time, they have 5,089 services. The services are not like small service. You know what? Application service. If you have Microsoft Word, right? That is a service. Microsoft Word is also a software service. not like Microsoft Word. These are like advanced services. For example, if you take something AWS Storage Gateway, AWS Storage Gateway is Google Drive, right? So Google Drive is what familiar between lot of people across the world. Similarly, so AWS Storage Gateway S3 is there. You have a lot to do with each and everything of these services. You cannot count like 5,089 application services developed by a single organization and running successfully for 20 years and plus, and with a aggregated profit earning year to year with 100% profit of their revenue. So it's like Amazon's history, like 94, Jeff Bezos incorporated the company. In 95, they launched their bookstore. Like after a gap of a year, like they were working on a lot of products and services. In 2005, they brought the Amazon publishing. In 2006, officially they launched this Amazon Web Services. 2007, Kindle was launched. 2011, Amazon Fresh. 2012, Amazon Gaming Studios. 2013, Amazon Art. 2014, Prime Now, which is Amazon Prime today, and Amazon Home Services. Then you know what? All of these Amazon services are into AWS today. So AWS is placed globally. So AWS is the one main advantageous reason why business people go for Amazon is they are located globally. Their infrastructure is built across the globe, like across the latitude and longitude. Each and if you go for any country or any continent, they have their data, at least their data center located in their continent. So owing to this, the global infrastructure, they are splitting it like regions. Any region is what comprised of 2 or 3 availability zone. Any availability zone is what comprised of 2 or 3 traditional data centers. These are like clustered into networks, bringing into a global infrastructure. There are a lot of cloud computing technologies, cloud computing service providers across the world. There is no one like Amazon having such a big global infrastructure. You can see the globe wherever they're operating in the geographical locations. You can see Oregon, North California, US, Ohio, North Virginia, Goa, Canada, Ireland, London. Even in India, they have set up the service in the Mumbai region, Singapore, Indonesia, Cape Town, Somalia. So moving on, if you see as an example of their region, we are taking this Singapore. In Singapore, they have 3 availability zone. Each availability zone is clustered into multiple data centers. So we can have this. So AP Southeast Singapore is what? They have actually 3 data centers clustered into a single availability zone. Any availability zone will be like a cluster of data center. A data center will be a cluster of traditional data center, and the cluster of data centers will be an availability zone. Consider you are taking this AP South 1A data center, first data center. You are building your application. You are getting your own cloud computing over that data center. You'll have your applications built over there. Automatically, you will have a clone created in the data center 1C, where if something happens for 1A, you can have your business uninterrupted using this 1C, which will be automatically taken care by their AWS programming. And you should be more cautious to be like which region you need to select. So based on the data governance, you will be having legal requirements. If you see like certain country will have restrictions to the content of their provided content they provide in the IT infrastructure. So based on the data governance and the legal requirements in the local region, you need to choose the region which would be convenient for you. Proximity to customers, latency. Even though internet, data passed as packets through the internet, there is latency available in a lot of websites today. So to reduce this latency for the customers, you can take a nearest region. Maybe like if you see Amazon.in, it will be widely used on Indian region. so that this Amazon.in data cluster has to be placed in the Mumbai region, so that it will be like reducing the latency. So services available within the region. So you have one advanced benefit. So consider you need to make Amazon.in to be working only within India. Amazon.in should not be accessible outside India. So you can have your data placed in the Mumbai region, and you can have a restriction control added for this service availability. So this data will not be available outside India. This service availability within the region is also a key point for selecting a region. Cause the major thing is pricing of your data region vary by region, so determine the right region for your services, applications, and data based on these factors. Okay, so there are three ways to interact with the AWS while you work with AWS. So you have started to learn what is AWS. Now you're going to work with AWS. There are three ways you can interact with AWS. The one is your interface. Consider you have Gmail, right? You have Gmail where you can send an email, receive an email, uh, draft an email, chat with your friends, also get access for your Google Drive. You can host a meeting, you can schedule a timely reminder. So these are all you can perform based on this gmail.com website. So you're able to log into the website, you are able to see something in the graphical interface. So consider you don't have a graphical interface. You need to do everything in the very traditional way, like telnet communication, something. It will be difficult for you, right? So that is why this AWS is providing you a management console where you can manage and operate all of this 5000 plus services they are providing. Also they have an command line interface where you can access the services you have consumed and provided based on the discrete commands they have defined for their AWS CLI. They are also providing SDKs, like you can access your own services using programmatical knowledge, which can be integrated inside your code. Consider you are developing an application to register. Okay, let's take like a real life scenario. This TN government has developed a website to request for e-pass, right? To transit between the states or within the districts. So you are registering your requirement. So while you are doing this requirement, consider that site is developed in PHP. So they will be asking asking you to upload some certificates or maybe some other documents to verify valuable or privacy based documents which should not be hacked by any hackers. So you have developed your application, I mean front end application in PHP. You can have a plugin integrated for Amazon S3 where this data will, I mean the uploaded file will be uh, uploaded to the S3 using this SDK plugin. So this AWS management console is available both as a website and a mobile app, where as a mobile, like wherever you are, you can control and you can manage your applications. So this AWS CLI has a lot of open source tool interacting with AWS services. One of the major tool used by a lot of developers would be Putty. Putty is a networking tool which is used for command line interfacing with your services, any of your services locally or cloud, and AWS makes use of it. It has providing access for environments based on the different OSs, Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. And SDKs, they have software development kits integrated with a lot of technologies as JavaScript, Python, PHP, .NET, Ruby, IoT, Java, C++, Node.js, and Go. So these are the major components of AWS: CloudWatch, Route 53, Elastic Block Store, email facility, easy to elastic cloud compute, self and access organization, simple storage device. I'll just give a quick brief about this. CloudWatch. CloudWatch is nothing but Amazon is advising you to come and have a look on this CloudWatch. It will have a statistical data of how your cloud usage is going. So for what you are paying and what you're using. So consider you are paying for 5 GB a month, but you are utilizing only 1.5 GB or less than 2 GB. So based on this CloudWatch statistical data, you can scale down. You can reduce from 5 GB to 2.5 GB of storage space. So this Route 53 is used for routing. Routing is a networking concept where you will have this routing technology implemented to access your resources across the cloud. So Elastic Block Store is nothing but your local hard disk drive, which is placed in a cloud. Easy email facility. As like Gmail, Amazon is also providing an email facility in a paid basis. Like for 500 emails, you need to pay for pay this much. So based on the emails you use, you need to pay. So Elastic Compute Cloud is nothing but you will have your own computer hosted in the consider your computer is hosted in the internet cloud. You have a computer, your own hardware computer placed in the cloud, which you can access, control, install softwares, deploy applications, host sites. Simple storage device is also known as S3 is what you can similarly compare with Google Drive. Similar to Google Drive, you will have your data stored in the simple storage device. So major AWS services is IAM, Identity Access Management. So using this Identity Access Management, you can create users for your own root account. Like you can create multiple users and you can make this user integrated, one single user for integrating with S3, one user for integrating with EC2, one user for integrating with virtual private cloud. And for this user, you can have your role definitions. You can have assign their security groups. So similar to the Samba servers provided inside an institution and organization, they'll be having restrictions, right? So admin can access a lot of access all the features given in an application, and below admin there will be a TL or management resource who can access less than admin. So based on like that, you can define the role and security groups for any users. So virtual cloud computing, that is what EC2. So EC2 is the major service used by all of the business services. So any service you use in AWS, you will also use EC2 along with it. So virtual private cloud. So virtual private cloud is nothing but PC. PC is what a personal computer you have virtual like you have in a real world. Similar to that, you will have a virtual personal computer, virtual private cloud. Consider you having a private cloud virtually for you. So coming to storage, they have S3 Elastic Block Store. S3 is similar to Google Drive. Elastic Block Store is similar to a hard disk drive, but placed in the cloud. Database, they have Aurora, DynamoDB. Also, they have database migration plans and services opted for on-premise data migration, where they can adapt to any data source they use in their on-premise. SNS, simple notification services, messaging services, which have email and message services. Elastic Beanstalk, app servers and virtual manstack. Elastic Beanstalk is where you will directly deploy your app and serve it, host it to the internet. CloudFront, you can have any static data cached onto different regions and deliver your static content through the internet. CloudWatch, as I told you, it will be like analyzing a statistics. It will be giving you what you have subscribed for, what are you using. It will also giving you alarm notification for the users if you are going to exceed the available resource. For example, you have consumed for 5 GB of storage. It will give you an alarm when you reach when you kept using of 4 GB data. It is going to give you have almost utilized your 80% of the data, so that you will upscale your resource. So this is how Amazon Virtual Private Cloud look like. Amazon Virtual Cloud is comprising of a region. Amazon Cloud, a region inside an Amazon Cloud will have multiple Amazon Virtual Private Clouds, whereas you will opt for a virtual private, you will rent a virtual private cloud for which you will have a public and corporate internet database data center. You will have instances. Instance is nothing but operating systems hosted on the public and private cloud. So this is sample architecture example for AWS. So in an internet, you will host an application in your EC2 AWS. Through the internet gateway, you will be able to access that EC2 region, whereas that EC2 will be configured to the S3 bucket for a static content resource sharing. EBS will act as the backend data source, and you'll have ephemeral storage, which will be the instant storage of your AWS cloud. So these are the major competitors of AWS. Post Amazon's stable launch of S3 and EC2 in the year 2006, the major competitors emerged as GCP and Azure by the year 2008. Comparing AWS futures with Microsoft Azure, AWS has virtual private cloud, and Azure has service provided by Amazon Web Service, which also Azure has a competitive application service of Express Route. DNS, domain naming system, is what Azure provides, and Route 53 is the Amazon Web Service providing it. Amazon CloudFront for delivering static content. Azure has the CDN service for it. Load balancing. Load balancing is the major service provided by Amazon, wherein consider there is a during Diwali, Amazon.in provides you 2 days, 3 days deals, right? So during this deals, the load will be too much for any service. So to control this load, they have this load balancing service in all the cloud computing service providers. And one of the Amazon Elastic Load Balancing is other services are charging for it, and Amazon gives you a free load balancing for all your services opted with them. SaaS. So do you think SaaS is software as a service? But Amazon thinks different. They have a cloud computing module, sensing as a service. Sensing, they have bots designed to sense anything. Sensing as a service is what they're working on emerging. Amazon is also going to step into food delivery business of India, similar to Swiggy, Zomato. Amazon is stepping into food delivery system. For this, they are working on this sensing as a service. So these are the important links you can go through to learn Amazon. So Amazon has a lot of free tier. They're providing 12 months of free tier for any individual who registers with a valid email account and credit card. They won't charge you for 12 months, but you just need to validate your account with an credit card. They will not charge you your credit card, but you need a valid email ID and a credit card for creating a free account. I'll tell you what is this free account comprises of, but you can make use of this links to learn about Amazon.
Karthika madam.
Sir. Hello, sir.
Any questions,
Thanks
please?
for joining.
Thank you, Mr. Balaji, for the wonderful session. So I would like to ask few questions on behalf of participants.
Sure, ma'am.
First one, how to rectify security issues in cloud?
So security issues happening in the cloud is mainly based out of the hackers. Initially when AWS emerged, terrorists have hacked AWS cloud services and used for their data transferring. So to rectify security in cloud computing, AWS is providing with one of the wonderful authorization and authentication, which I talked about. IAM user. IAM is identity access management. They have multi-factor authentication. So you will have a root user credentials. You will have, like sub-user credentials, and you will also have a multi-factor authentication. Beyond this, no one can hack your account. Apart from this, they have your IAM user configuration, role-based configuration, and security group configuration. They cannot bypass these many levels of credentials. We cannot. There is no wonder if Microsoft and Google would get rid of. There is no wonder that Microsoft and Google would get rid of their cloud computing business in a decade, because Amazon has so much of cloud computing services compared to any other thing. If you get a time, I'll ask you to go through Amazon IAM. It will give you the complete answer of how to get rid of the security threats in the cloud computing.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, Balaji. Thank you, Mr. Vincent.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, very nice to see you through webinar. And
Yes.
I think the students, a wonderful session, and I think you clearly very well explained about the AWS services and Amazon Web Services, and what are the platforms are available, fundamental, and where the students can do or the people can approach to do the things.
Yes.
But when students are doing a project this year, and we had a little bit problem about the they started working about the chatbot, PSNA chatbot.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there they could able to complete the project, but the API is given by IBM they used, and as well as the Google as well as API they used,
Okay.
free version. While
Okay.
purchasing of this API from the IBM or the Google version, and they enter into the Amazon Web Services cloud platform, and they are trying to purchase with use of credit card, which was a little bit very high cost. I think they could not afford the cost while doing their project. So do you have any student versions? The students while doing a project for education institutions or any student project, is there any platform are available in AWS, especially for the college community group or student community group for a project purpose?
For project purpose, they don't have any like for any student or institutional purpose, they don't have any such features, sir. But for any organization, whether it is like an 1 rupee earning organization or like 100 billion profit earning organization, they give it 12 months of free tier,
Free.
eligible for everyone.
Oh.
But it is definitely you need to go for a credit. Let me know what is the AWS service they are trying to purchase or opt out. I could free tier access.
Okay. I'll check. I'll check with the students, and I ask the students to contact you in the regard.
Sure,
And
sure. I will be able to
yeah,
help them.
please. Thank you very much, Kartika madam. Kartik, hello. During Sunday, I think you spend some time with us for our faculty and as well as the students. And some of the faculty members are this webinar regularly the last 2 weeks we are conducting it, and the 30th is we are concluding on 30th. And 30th there will be for especially from placement aspirant the IVTL CEO is going to address for our students, and as well as the from CDAC joint director is coming forward, and he has agreed, and he will be addressing about the giving lecture on the data science, and how the student can or the researchers can enter into the real-time project with the data science and so on. So I think thank you very much for a wonderful session, and as well as very useful for the students entering into the cloud technology cloud. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.